We at MD Coaches know that match is a stressful time. If your match results were not what you expected, you might need the time and the space to explore what's next. MD Coaches is proud to offer a comprehensive 6-week virtual group coaching program that explores your unique value and possibilities beyond the match. We're offering 4 separate rolling cohorts, Sundays, April 7 through May 12, or May 19 through June 23rd. A second option is Thursdays, May 2nd through June 6th, or June 13th through July 25th. All sessions begin at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can register today at mdcoaches.store/medical-student-coaching.
We want you to make that positive change. We want you to realize the sun is rising, but I want you to bask in that sunlight as well. So therefore, you can actually impact yourself, your family, your community to go to even higher levels.
Paging Dr. Cook. Paging Dr. Cook. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR. Dr. Cook, you're wanted in the OR.
Welcome to the Prescription for Success podcast with your host, Dr. Randy Cook.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on Prescription for Success. I'm Dr. Randy Cook, your host for the podcast, which is a production of MD Coaches, providing leadership and executive coaching for physicians by physicians. To overcome burnout, transition your career, develop as a leader, or whatever your goal might be, visit MD Coaches on the web at mymdcoaches.com because you're not in this alone. And don't forget that CME credit is available when you listen with us. Just look for CMify in the show notes to learn how. It's been our pleasure to have Dr. Kimberly Jackson on the RX for Success podcast at least a couple of times in the past, most recently in episode number 180 to highlight National Physicians Week, which she founded back in 2016. We've asked her back today because she has recently released a new book entitled The Sun is Rising, and we wanted to hear some of the details about that project. So let's hear my conversation with Dr. Kimberly Jackson. All righty, I'm excited today to welcome back to our show Dr. Kimberly Jackson, who practices over in the Columbus, Georgia, Phoenix City area. We've had her on a couple of times in the past, most recently to talk about Doctors Week, which she was the engineer and architect for that entire national attention that we place on doctors. And so let me start by saying, first of all, Kim, thank you so much for inventing National Doctors Week. And secondly, how did it go? It's only a couple of weeks ago we were doing that.
I know, right? Exactly. Well, hi, Randy. I am so excited to be back again. Thank you all so much for this honor and privilege to talk to your audience and just share what's been going on with me. So yes, National Doctors Week, National Physicians Week went well. Revitalized a whole virtual carnation, which we were able to raise some funds for medical students, scholarships. And we also would just spread some love to our docs. I got the positive messages back that folks were like, thank you. And I appreciate you all, highlighting me, shouting out me, giving my virtual carnation. Of course, we got the jokesters doc too, because we're not monolithic. And some were like, I'd rather have a steak or, or a drink or something.
Of course.
But it was a beautiful gesture. And so we just continue to expand it and spread the word about it. And we hope to have more and more persons participate next year, the 25th through the 31st. And thank you all as well so much for supporting us and getting the information out there and just all that you do to help support physicians working together, my brand, doctors in general, and just our healthcare system. Thank you.
Well, I am really glad to hear that it went so well. I have to tell you, I'm a little bit jealous before, I retired before National Doctors Week became a thing. Thanks to your efforts, but in any place, it's a pleasure for me and for our organization MD Coaches is very excited to be able to help out in that effort. And I know that there are a lot of physicians around the country who are grateful for your efforts as well. So
Thank you.
let's talk about some new things. You are a busy family practitioner. You're raising a couple of daughters. You are the founder and an active member of Physicians Working Together. You founded National Physicians Week. And so I guess you're not busy enough. You decided to write a book. Is that about the way it went? What's going on here?
I know, right? Exactly. It would seem to be that way. What else can I do? Maybe I'll write a book, hopefully life-changing.
Yeah.
So essentially, yes, in the midst of everything else, and you're right, first and foremost, my job is, and my passion, of course, is to take care of my daughters and to be a present mom and to try to be an example for them. And so the most, I guess, heartwarming thing that's come out of this is just their pride in being like, my mom's an author. My mom wrote a book. This is so cool.
Yeah,
So,
I'll
besides,
say.
the doctor, and they don't get the whole, say, PWT National Physicians Week thing, but definitely the whole thing of being a doctor and then writing a book, that's something that's been really cool for them. So essentially just talking to people and folks sharing that, hey, you should write a book. I heard it from other folks. I never anticipated I would write a book. And they were like, put your things that help you overcome, things that gave you joy, things that help you go to the next level. If you could put that down and share it with people, I think that'd be a blessing to folks. I think that'd be helpful. My mom would say, you have a way of saying things. So it's one of those things of just kind of listening and being led and saying, I'm going to take people's, kind of nudging and God as well as just kind of saying, hey, you have something to say, share it. And so that's what I did.
Well, I'm really glad you did, and I have had an opportunity to read the book, which I found terribly inspiring. I know
Thank you.
you or at least it was my impression that you kind of had a female audience in mind, although you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but even with that focus coming from a woman's focus, I found it to be every bit as applicable for male physicians as female physicians. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you're saying that because it's funny how sometimes you'll have what you think your plans are or your goals, and then your mission ministry or your impact will even be bigger than that, right? So essentially, when I started thinking about it, of course, I had to go from the point of view of myself, being a woman, first and foremost, being a mother, being a physician, being a woman of color, being a person in the society that sometimes is not the one people may go to for advice or may not just value as much as per se, in some cases, say the male voice. So it's like, hey, let me speak to my sisters, let me speak to my other women, working moms, professionals, even beyond, of course, being a physician, just being a mom. Let me speak to these persons and encourage them. But one of the most encouraging things for me has been the response from men like yourselves that have just told me, hey, this is not just a book for women. This is a book that touched me. This is a book that helped me be inspired. Like you said, I've had colleagues and stuff say that it's great. I've had men basically that were friends and family members as well are like, this is an awesome book. It's not just for the girls or the women. It's for boys and for men as well. So that has been just a wonderful thing that I've heard. And I'm excited that it's touching so many people in so many ways.
Well, I think we're really, really fortunate that we've entered into an era where women are as much a part of the physician workforce as men. That was not the case for a very long time. And although I don't pretend to be an expert in human psychology or mental health or anything of that nature, I am inclined to think that there is something to this right brain, left thing phenomenon where I think both men and women have a lot that they could learn if they listen to their opposite sex counterparts. Again, would you agree with that, or am I just
100%. No, you're absolutely not nuts, and I wouldn't say it anyway. Psychiatry is not my area. But having said that, we dabble a little bit in it. That's a family medicine doc. I think absolutely I am definitely excited about this trajectory that we have about including all people at the table, right? So we can have a conversation and we can hear from each other and learn from each other. And men and women, I think sometimes this division that we have is not necessary because we can have differences, but still respect each other and honor each other and learn from each other and love each other. And I think if we honor those differences versus making those as the point of interest, if those are the things we're only going to focus on, we can learn so much. And it's one of the most beautiful things I had occur too was the book has been read by a couple of local OBGYNs, and they're, very close friends. And one of the guys at first kind of started off in this way of, well, thank you so much for supporting me. And I appreciate you buying the book. I know, the general focus may be women. He's like, well, first of all, he was like, my dad said it was a great read. But then on top of that, it was, I take care of women. So, that's that other thing too, that never even somewhat crossed my mind. Like at that point of, okay, this could be something that can help persons if they're willing to listen and learn to say, okay, how do they think? Or how does this particular woman think? I can't speak for everyone. And like you said, if we'll just listen and learn from each other, I think we have a much more harmonious world. I think we also can just have the tools that we can get outside of that box and not be stuck, and we can just both move forward together.
Are you a doctor struggling to provide the best care for your patients while dealing with financial and caregiving matters out of the scope of your practice? Do you find yourself scrambling to keep up with the latest resources and wish there was an easier way? Then this virtual caregiver conference resource will save you time, money, and sanity by giving you all the resources and information your patients need in one place. This conference helps you and your patients enlist the best strategies around healthcare resources and the best financial steps for your patients while navigating caregiving situations. You don't have to go home feeling frustrated and helpless because you couldn't connect your patients with the best services. Find out more at jeanniedoherty.com or click in the link in the show's notes. You don't want to miss this caregiver resource.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Crow, founder and CEO for MD Coaches. Here on RX for Success, we interview a lot of great medical professionals on how they grew their careers, how they overcame challenges, and how they handle day-to-day work. I really hope you're getting a lot of great information. But if you're looking for an answer to a specific problem, management or administration challenge, or if you're feeling just a bit burnt out, like maybe you chose the wrong career, well, then there's a faster way to get the help you need. No, it's not counseling, it's coaching. RX for Success is produced by MD Coaches, a team of physicians who have been where you are. I know you're used to going it alone, but you don't have to. Get the support you need today. Visit us at mymdcoaches.com to schedule your complimentary consultation. Again, that's mymdcoaches.com, because you're not in this alone.
We'll get back to our interview in just a moment, but right now I want to tell you a little bit about Physician Outlook. If you haven't discovered this remarkable magazine, please do so very soon. It was created by physicians, for physicians, to showcase the intersection between clinical and non-clinical interests, whether it's writing, painting, cooking, politics, and dozens of other topics. Physician Outlook gives a physician perspective. It's available online and in print. It's really unique among physician lifestyle magazines. And like the Prescription for Success podcast, Physician Outlook amplifies the voice of any physician who has something to say. It also engages patients who still believe in physician-led, team-based care. And Prescription for Success listeners can get 3 months free when you enter our promo code RX for Success and select the monthly option at checkout. That's a really great deal on this stunning publication. And now let's get back to today's interview. Let's talk about the title, The Sun is Rising. Where did that come from?
That is an excellent question. So as I was writing the book and I was trying to just put together everything, that at least as much thing, because it's going to be everything. Most points that I've had that I could divide into sections like you're loved, you're enough, what would be a common thing to kind of help people understand that this book is about not focusing on our past, but moving forward to our future. Right. And I was like, so what's something that always kind of reminds of this? We have a new start. We have a new beginning. And it just hit me. The sun is rising. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things of when we're blessed to wake up in the morning, no matter where we are in life, no matter what country, geographically, physically, spiritually, mentally, where we are, that whole process of the sun is rising. For most of us, we're reborn, right? So we're like, okay, this is a new day that I could do it better than the day before, that I can be more grateful, that I can be more present. It's a restart. So it's like the sun is rising in your life, right? The sun is rising. It's going to come up. Focus on the fact that this is an opportunity for you, no matter what the past has shown, that you could do better. And then on top of that, there was a song that I'd heard, several years back that had the same title. That was the same thing. The woman was going through something, and it was basically that I'm going to make it. We're going to get through this. I'm going to be stronger than I was before, despite what happened to me, because I realized that the sun is rising. So I thought that was a very appropriate title for what I wanted to share.
Kind of like Scarlett O'Hara, tomorrow is another day, right?
Right, exactly.
I hate to bring up something as trite as that, but I just could not hold myself back.
Absolutely.
So the other thing that I really like about this book, and I hesitate to call it a self-help book because it's much more than that.
Thank you.
But typically, when you see books that are written in this genre, they're kind of instructive. But in this one, you have carefully and intentionally built in some moments for self-reflection, which I think is profoundly important. Would you like to tell us where that idea came from?
So the idea came from a couple of things, and I was sharing this at a recent book launch that I have. So you were talking about National Physicians Week. So we ended up ending that week on this just super high note because I was able to do my first book signing and book launch in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, which is basically like my hometown.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
I know, it was phenomenal. My mom and dad were there. I was able to give them their flowers and let them know that I appreciate all they've done and all they put into me and instilled in me, because they were proud of me. But I'm like, I'm proud of you, because of course I wouldn't have been able to be where I am without them. So just being able to share that moment, be back in my hometown and talk to the people and just tell them, about the book and why we're doing the book. And it was a couple of things that came up. My friend, my best friend from high school, she was like the MC of the program. Shout out to Lakila. And so she actually had said, oh, Kim used to read tons of books and all the time. And I don't know, I wasn't, a big reader. She said, but this is just the perfect size for me that I can read it and, I can get through it. And I was like, yes, but what I've also discovered is just reading something one time, even though in that moment you may feel extremely inspired and you're like, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to start tomorrow exercising 3 times a week. I'm going to start drinking 10 glasses of water. Right. I'm getting 8 hours of sleep. The reality is that high oftentimes doesn't last that long. Right. Mm-hmm. And research has shown us the average of people will say 2 to 3 weeks, 21 days to make a change. So what I was telling them and what I share with my readers is even beyond this book, I also have a journal that I did that takes the questions further. And you have some puzzles and you have some, other questions and songs and some adult coloring pages, because I realized you have to engage people in different ways for things to stick. So I was like, if I share my story, share what I think are some good points to hopefully, touch you and inspire you and help you grow. If you actually take that time yourself, though, to go through questions, to make this pertinent to your life, to push yourself forward, to do that deep look inside to see what ways that you can change and grow, it's going to be much more impactful. And so I wanted to include those in the book because I felt like, okay, once you're on this high, you may be motivated actually to say, what ways can I go further, learn about myself and really, really make a change that's going to last? Because that's the thing as well. We want you to make that positive change. We want you to realize the sun is rising, but I want you to bask in that sunlight as well. So therefore you can actually impact yourself, your family, and your community to go to even higher levels.
Along the same lines, something else that really struck me about the formatting and the plan of your presentation, in addition to the expository part and the instructional part that you have in there, you also included a playlist of songs that are just very appropriate for each individual chapter, which I think is just absolutely brilliant. So how did you come up with that idea?
Oh, thank you so much. So music is life for me. I love it. Anyone that knows me and knows I love music. And it's one of those things too. I grew up in the household where pretty much for the most part, we were listening to gospel music in some form or fashion, whether it was contemporary, traditional, however. But that's when I really just know the impact and power of music. You can be feeling down and someone could put on your favorite song, or they could play something that's upbeat and have you dancing and smiling and happy. Or you could be feeling great and someone plays this song that's a little melancholy and it's reminds you of a lost loved one, and it can just shift your mood. So music is so powerful that I was like, you know what? I want to include that in the book because that's me. So if I'm really trying to be true to myself and say, what are things that help me take myself to a higher level? I can't not include music. So it took the time to like think of the different topics. And of course, there's some things coming out because I'm planning to do audiobook, and people talk about doing a Spotify list. And, even at the book launch and book signing, we were able to play the music for the audience so they could hear the playlist.
That is so cool.
It is so cool. On one hand, it's like an easy playlist too. Hey, play the songs from my book, and there we go. We got the music for the venue. But it was just music is such a huge part of what I do, and we're a musical family. We actually just celebrated my mom's pastor anniversary. She's a pastor of a CME church, and they had an anniversary for her. And my brothers and I got together with no rehearsal, Randy, and actually sang some of the songs we sang growing up, and we actually sang some other songs. And so it was in a church. It was spiritual, inspirational. Yes. And it was funny because some people after was like, why haven't y'all recorded? And we're like, it's just a part of our life. It's not something we actually thought about. Hey, let's sit down and record a CD or a record or anything. But that's how powerful music is. That we literally got there without practice. People from different states, Pennsylvania, Texas, of course, I'm Alabama, Mississippi, came as siblings, came together, got around the keyboards, brothers playing, brothers singing. I'm leading, they're leading, and we just sang and, really had a wonderful time. And my mom was so excited and so happy, and actually got a chance to sell some books too. So that was pretty cool.
I guess so. I bet your mom is just absolutely delighted with this entire project, and rightfully so. I do want to, while I have you here, I want to ask you maybe a detailed question or two about the book, and one in particular, Chapter 7, Embrace Change and New Opportunities. What I discovered from that is, this is one of those things where you truly are speaking from experience, from some profound experience. And I know that you've had the experience of people thinking, wow, Dr. Jackson, she's really got it all together, and she knows how to live a good life, and man, she must be on top of the world. But the truth is that you've had some challenges of your own, just like everybody else.
Correct.
And you had the courage to put that in the book and tell us what it was all about and tell us what it was like. And I'm wondering, did you have any hesitation about that? Did you have to sort of grit your teeth and push forward with it, even though it was uncomfortable? What was your state of mind when you were telling those stories?
Yes. So, and it's funny you should say that, because of course I do share some things that are definitely very personal. I share some things that were somewhat traumatic, at least for me and my life experience. Everybody has their own, life experience. And even my brother had wrote, I just saw how real and raw, Dr. Jackson was in this book. And in fact, the other folks were like, you put it out there. But it came from the fact of, I think a lot of times when people, even when I talk to patients, I've had some of them that are be like, well, you don't know, doc, how about, I got to get this to get my food, whether I'm on government assistance or I live here, or I had to be here and I can't afford it. Like you've had a silver spoon in your mouth, right? Like they have no idea where you come from, or you don't know the cost of bread or gas, or you don't have a clue about how I have to balance this and do this because you're a doctor. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to definitely share, that no, and this is even just in the past few years time span. This doesn't even talk about the time of me growing up on a farm, and then having to take care of whether it was our cow or a goat or pigs, or work sun up to sundown in the sense of working around a farm and doing stuff. This is just, part of the past few years. And so it was somewhat a little bit of hesitation in the sense of, you're going to have folks that get to see you in a way that they haven't seen you before, that they didn't know that you went through certain things, that you have to kind of be vulnerable and you have to share. But that's also how we create changes and how we make a difference. When we let people know, I hear you, I see you, I've been where you are, I've been through something similar, then they can actually take what you're advising and what you're giving. Because the reality is, if someone came to us and we thought that they were, super rich or had it good, and they were like, oh, all you got to do is blah, blah, blah. We were like, yeah, you have no clue about what I have to go through or what I've been through. But by me being vulnerable and sharing, I'm hoping that it will tell people, yes, I've had some situations, some traumatic situations, some things with my daughters, and just different ways of what we've had to go through, that we persevered and we've come through it, and we're blessed and excited about it. And you yourself can do this. You can embrace change and new opportunities and know that you can move to the next level in your life, and it can be more beautiful than you ever imagined. And it's, so it's all there. Just realizing that all things are working for the good, that you're stepping forward, that you're having this attitude of gratitude, knowing that each thing that you're going through is helping you be a stronger, better person. And we're so thankful for that because all things do work for the good. I'm a true believer of that. And I think I would have been doing a disservice if I wasn't as vulnerable, open, or raw and real with sharing some of those things with my readers.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it makes the entirety of your presentation so much more relevant, so much more believable, because it's easy to think when somebody is giving advice, what do you know? You haven't stood in my shoes, and and none of us have stood in anybody else's shoes.
Right.
But I think all of us have probably had our share of challenges, and I think it's really helpful to hear somebody who has been as successful as you be honest about that, so that everybody knows that it didn't have anything to do with a silver spoon in your mouth. It had to do with
Definitely
perseverance
not.
and believing in yourself. It really
Exactly.
did. One other chapter that was particularly meaning for me that I'm going to ask you to comment on, chapter 9, choosing hope over fear.
Yes.
You know, fear is very much a reactive sort of thing. Hope is a proactive sort of thing. I know we want everybody to read the book, but I'd really like to hear you talk about how one becomes intentional enough to pick one over the other. Can you talk to us about that at all?
Oh, absolutely. So, and the funny thing about, like you say, choosing hope over fear, and I like how you said that, just reactive and proactive. That's positive. I'm gonna add that to the repertoire, Randy. And so the reality is, for the majority of us, when we're afraid of things, a lot of times, we're not even afraid of something that's happened. We're afraid of something we think is going to happen, right?
Right.
So it has to be this active decision. And I was just hearing this other day and sharing it with one of my dear close friends about the whole thing of best case scenario, like instead of choosing the worst case scenario. I think Michael Beckwith was talking about that. And the fact that we have this made up thing of the worst thing that's going to happen when God has not given us a spirit of fear. Because like I said, I'm a believer. So the thing is, why would I choose the worst case scenario for something that hasn't even happened? Why don't I think about the best things? Why don't I choose the hope over fear? Because it's my choice for both of them. I can hope for the best or I can look at the worst, And so my thing is, I want people to realize that choice is in us, because the reality is how we think and how we deal with things are choices we're making every day. And not even every day, sometimes throughout the moment of something didn't happen how we thought it was going to be. Someone didn't call back. Someone didn't react how we thought they should. Well, still think of hope, think of positive things, whether it's your bills, your business, whether it's your family, whatever relationship issues or whatever situation you're in, choose hope over fear. Think positive over negative. Choose the best case scenario. These are actions that you can take. And it's not a one-time thing. It's going to have to be a consistent thing, because there are always going to be things that come at us, because the constant thing about life is change that can actually set us back. And, some people are blessed that that's not a major issue for them. They generally are naturally positive and optimistic and don't think that. But for the majority of people, we always have a little bit of fear somewhere. And it's not a problem, because fear also keeps us sane and safe. But it's the balance where you don't want to have either irrational fear to let fears determine your life, determine your trajectory. Think positive, choose hope, know that things could be better than you even imagine. And I think when you believe that and you feel that and you speak that, you bring it to pass, because that's exactly what you're putting out to the universe, and you're getting that reflected back to you.
And would you say, when you face these challenges, and we'll all continue to face challenges, but when you're in that position of looking a particular difficulty squarely in the face, do you think you were really very intentional from the start, or did it take you a while to build up enough courage and momentum to really do the right thing? How did it work for you?
So for me personally, and for different situations, it's been different ways, right? Because in some cases, when things like really just catch you off guard, like, say find an opportunity, I couldn't prepare for that. My thing was just like, whoa, where did this come from? And so just trying to deal with it and talk to family and, have friends. And like I mentioned in the book, I didn't mention the person that said it, but it was my dear friend, Dr. Crandall Chambers, that was just sharing with me the fact that there are no illegitimate children in God's sight, right? So it's one of those things of, in some cases, I had to kind of go through it a little bit and then step back and say, hey, you know what? This is all going to work out good. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be okay. And then the other situations where you may have seen things coming, like during the pandemic, and then the money's running out. You're wondering what's going to happen. I'm like, you know what? God didn't bring me this far to be like one of 3 Blacks in a class of 100 to get through medical school, to get through residency, to get to this area, because we were, he was stationed here. be one of the few private practice offices that we have in family medicine in this area to leave me. So I'm going to choose hope over fear. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to speak life. I'm going to realize that this attitude of gratitude, of appreciating what I have and the impact I have, will help me be able to touch and bless even more people. So it kind of works in, like I say, both ways, because sometimes you're just thrown out there and then you got to like deal with it a little bit. And then it kind of comes back to you like, hey, who am I? This is a person I am, that I'm going to be positive, speak life, move forward. And then in other cases, as those situations or things are coming, then I can, better prepare and say, I know I'm going to be fine. This is going to be okay.
So different situations demand a different approach.
Yes. Like I say, at least for me.
It's just a matter of getting your thoughts together and coming up with a plan.
Correct.
Well, Kim, I have really enjoyed the conversation with you, and I thoroughly enjoyed the book. I wish you great success with it, and I bet you're going to have exactly that. So before we go, I want to give you one more opportunity to tell people the name of the book and where they can find it.
Oh, absolutely. So everyone, thank you so much for listening in. Thank you, Dr. Randy, for giving me this opportunity to share the book. The name of the book is The Sun is Rising, 10 Strategies to Get Unstuck, Find Your Voice, Walk in Your Purpose, Live Passionately, and Step Outside of Your Box. It can be found at inspireandempower.org. So inspireandempower.org. And then it also can be found on Amazon. But if you do purchase it through my website at inspireandempower.org, you can get an autographed copy. So that's the thing that makes it a little different. And I just sincerely hope, even from the closing reflections, that my words have ignited a spark within you, a realization that you possess the power to soar to new heights and achieve your fullest potential. So get the book and share it with someone else, read it yourself, and I pray it's a blessing to you and helps you really and truly get unstuck and take you to higher levels.
And there's a little workbook that goes along with it to make sure you do your homework, right?
Right, exactly. I think that's the teacher kind of me. My mom is a teacher, my brother's a teacher, and I teach in my own way. Like, I know some of y'all may slack on it. One of my friends was saying the same thing with the journal. She really loved it. Dr. Bonnie Virgil saying she really loved the fact that it had these different modalities that it can. She said, I may not do all the questions, but you have puzzles in here. You have some coloring sheets. She said, I know I can do those. So I was like, however it works to be able to get the message across that you're loved, you're enough, you're worth it, you can make it. And and the sun is rising. It's going to be a wonderful, great life for you if you choose it to be so and be positive about it. So
Dr. Kimberly Jackson, well-established family practitioner and an outstanding author. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening with us today. If you enjoyed the show, you can help us reach more listeners by leaving a rating and a review, especially on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if your app doesn't have that option, just leave us an email at www.rxforsuccesspodcast.com. Or you can leave us a voicemail through SpeakPipe. You can also help by becoming a Patreon member. That link is in the show notes. And we hope you'll also follow our companion podcast, Life-Changing Moments with Dr. Dale Waxman. Special thanks to our producer, Craig Clausen, our promotions manager, Mariana Rodabaugh, and to Ryan Jones, who created and performs our theme music. And remember, be sure to fill your prescription for success with my next episode.